journey has officially begun, and I believe we get into our main plot of the story here. So excited to see kind of how that goes. I took some time and I've reflected back for a while, I guess, on the episodes that we watched last time. And while I don't think I have too much more I would want to add or say that I didn't really get out before, I just want to express again how much I thought that they were so excellently done, from just literally the storytelling standpoint to the production to everything about it. I think really gave off like a certain vibe that I was trying to, and really created this atmosphere in this world that's really unique and really special, and a interesting way of telling a fantasy type story. And I'm really interested to see kind of how we go along with this and following FRIEREN and her journey, going forward here. Again, now finding new members with FRIEREN and probably who else that we're going to end up meeting up with, and joining up with us. So I'm very excited to see that, and especially how the impact of others like Himmel can still constantly affect you and linger in her mind. Always her thinking about him or what he would have done, and the influence that he had on her and everybody else that was a part of her squad, right? So I'm interested to see where we go, and I'm actually very excited and happy with what we got. I would assume the first few episodes here now are just going to be us adventuring to new places and probably connecting with people that are ultimately going to be in our squad. We see one guy in the OP, I think, and I don't know even who the other one would be, but I know for a fact there's like the red hair guy. So excited, I guess, to see how we meet him. But I'd assume that we take it slower to kind of group up and meet with these people over the next few episodes, and then we start really adventuring and getting into a whole bunch of squad stuff. That's typically how these things go, or at least we'll meet one of them on like a certain journey, and then we'll go on one later on and be able to meet up with the others. Those are typically the one or two routes that stuff can usually go. So I'm assuming this doesn't stray too far from that, but I'd be interested to see if we can somehow meet somebody else on a different sort of way, and I don't even know how that would end up being. This is a Toho show, as I always will mention. They'll probably end up copyright claiming this at some point, so when that ultimately ends up happening, just use the link in the description if you still want to watch this reaction portion. If you like it all, though, hit the like and subscribe to me. To me, feel free to stick around for the discussion. Leave any comments about this episode or series. Let's get going with episode. Basically goes as I thought it would, and we get introduced to our first new member that's going to end up joining our party to lead us on our ultimate journey, where we're all going to have to kind of adventure together and create these new memories. Something that's going to impact FRIEREN and the others involved so much throughout their lives. It's funny to think about. We run into the first obstacle of having these phantoms in this forest right through the illusion magic, and she talks about how this time seeing Himmel is like the first time that's happened, right? I'm assuming it's been like years and years since she's run into like one of these before, though, which has given plenty of time for this journey to kind of change, right? And give plenty of times for her memories and the things that are important and impactful to her and her life to change. But it is funny to think about. She's been alive for like 1,000 years, and over maybe the last 100, we'll say, just to be safe, this one, group of people, and specifically this one person, had such an impact, even though they were less than 10% of her life, probably had that strong of an impact, that they're the memory in which she sees in this moment, in that illusion. And I think that's really interesting, just to think about and to put into perspective of, regardless of how short things kind of are, sometimes having these quick moments almost, or these few years that you can of memories and adventure that you can kind of get with these people, it can be so impactful on you and change exactly who you are as a person, the route of your life, and just impact so much about you, which is really interesting. That it doesn't need to be much. It can only be like a little bit of time, but just having those certain people really can have that positive effect and change you. And I love how that just kind of gets showcased throughout the phantoms there, and us seeing these people who have had that strong impact and continued like lasting desire, I guess, on this person, of who they would want to see that has passed on before, right? Which I think is really cool. We do meet our boy Stark, though, and he is a coward, but he's also very strong and capable of a person. He's somebody who I do feel bad for, because he comes into this area as somebody who has run away before, right? Ran away from monsters and things like that attacking the village, and then he comes and he gets confronted basically with this dragon, and he freezes up once again. I'm assuming these were different situations. Even if they're the same, this point still stands. But if they are different, he then gets confronted through this dragon. It freezes up again because he's still a coward and still afraid of, doing anything. But that's not his fault, because literally, who the hell is going to beat this dragon? I mean, we see somebody as strong as fucking Fern here not able to even do any damage, is what we can kind of see to it, off of an attack that seems extremely strong. And we've seen her be kind of pretty plenty capable so far from what she's been able to do. So to see him being put in this position where then the dragon runs away for whatever the reason may be, and everybody else in this village kind of swarms him and praises him like he is this hero and this person who drove it away and did these great things. Now he has this burden and this thing on his shoulder in a way that he has to kind of carry. He's like the hero, he's the face, that he's the one that's going to be in charge if these other people come, right? If this dragon ever comes back and attacks the village or something, he's the one that they're going to turn to and rely on, and he doesn't want to have to let these people down. So sure, he might be a coward in the moment, but he's not really that bad of a person. He's a very strong, capable person who really probably is kind-hearted and means well, and just struggles to actually be in that moment and kind of go out there and do exactly what he has to, which is why he's training so hard in this mountain, which you see seems like he's plenty capable. He's like literally blowing up this thing and completely like splitting it in two, things that are like completely rock solid, and he's just cutting through it like that. Like he seems like he'll be fine. It's more of just like his fear of actually being in battle. Maybe it's something, a trauma thing, it even could be, similar thing happened, being attacked by his own, or at his own village, not able to do anything, running away, right? It could be variety of things that flare up, which causes him to kind of panic and not be able to do anything in this moment. It literally could just be a cowardly thing. It could just be he doesn't want to attack or harm other people around him. Who knows, right? But it also doesn't really matter too much, because you do see the determination and this thing within this person who is trying his hardest in this situation. Sure, he probably shouldn't be taking all these things for free, right? And he shouldn't be getting praised and doing all this stuff. But it's kind of hard when you're the hope and the savior of these people to kind of let them down and tell them something. Some of them just won't believe you and are going to choose to believe what they've always have been or always want to believe. And even the ones who do believe you, it's just hard to like see that and let them down when they feel like that there's a thing of hope, and then they have to live in fear constantly. It's a really shitty and tough situation for him to kind of be in. I really like this moment starting off between the priest and Fern, and him kind of just acting or telling her, if she's bad, I'll come and haunt you. So you're going to listen to me, go follow FRIEREN and be with her for like the remainder of your life or this journey or whatever it is, right? And then her kind of flipping it on him and be like, oh, I get to see you again. If so I don't actually have to listen and obey, which is a really clever and funny way of her kind of flipping that on him. But then him being like, you know what? Do the opposite of that. Just be with her, be good, and then I'll come and visit you, which is funny. But it leads us into the idea, one, she's dreaming about him, so we know that this memory, when these phantoms and the stuff is going to occur, is going to end up being him, and it puts it in your mind already beforehand, but also allows you to see that she has a purpose for going on this journey too. It's not just let me follow FRIEREN, it's I get the opportunity to speak with somebody who literally saved me and was so impactful and important on my life. So she's also getting something very important out of this destination that they're going towards. So they each have kind of a similar goal at the end of the day. I love these moments of just, we do it as well in the forest and stuff, but just a walk through the city, maybe not even have any background music or anything, but just dialogue between the characters. It really fleshes out and like builds up the cities and the things that we're in, and it allows you to kind of just see these conversations naturally occurring without us having to do anything that seems a little weird. I love the animation that they do when she goes to open the door. She has to like shift herself and like readjust and pick up whatever it is that she's holding, because that's such a real thing that can usually just go unnoticed, and we just assume these people are strong when most of the time they're probably not. We go out on our adventure. FRIEREN questions Fern. She's like, can you kill it? Can you do this if this person comes up? And she's like, of course, it's just an illusion. There's no way that I wouldn't be able to. But then when opportunity faces you and it's somebody that you remember, and they can even tap in and get into your memories and, use things like that against you, it's a little bit more difficult, which is really, really interesting. And it's a fun way to introduce something that other forms of magic and things that we can deal with at some point here, if I don't know what she is or isn't familiar with, but if somebody like FRIEREN isn't familiar with something that we end up running into at some other point, could possibly be using things like illusions, but also these things with memories and stuff, and use it in maybe forms and ways that kind of haven't really been introduced to her or us as the viewer yet, that can really get complicated over time, which does, concern me if we want to go something like that. But even if we don't, it just allows for a variety of ways that we could really play into combinations and things that we do with the magic and the whole system here, which I think is really, really cool. And the different spells that are capable. I love FRIEREN being able to see Himmel here, and that's the person who has this impact and this thing on her, which I really think is such a important thing and a key thing to kind of know, is about how this person was such a good a quality person to kind of have around in her life, that he made that big of an impact, even if it was for such a small amount of time, I guess relative to the amount of time in her life ultimately, which I think is really, really cool. It's also really like sweet just to think about like the view that she had on literally like everything in life, or like how she kind of took things all the time, and instead now she does things in different ways, that, or like views things differently, or does things for certain purposes that are all because of like things that maybe he did or the way he views things and stuff, which I think is really funny, as we see later with the example where we get questioned by Stark, and he's like, oh, why are you even doing this? There's nobody who would just go out of their way only to like obtain this weird spell, right? And she's like, no, somebody told me that they thought it was like cool, the spells that I collect, and they liked them, so I continue to do it. That's why it's a hobby. Like it's a dumb reason, right? But it's really cute, and it's sweet that she does this because she was complimented once, and somebody who was that important to her liked these things, and she wanted to showcase, the different things that she's kind of obtained. And even after the passing of him, she still continues to journey out and obtain all these different things to be helpful and useful to others, but also just to kind of showcase him if she ever had the opportunity, which I think is just the sweetest thing. We're able to get these kills and these two things, which is not the easiest thing for especially Fern to be able to do here. FRIEREN is probably easier because it's the second time through, at least what we know. The second time through it might be more, but it makes it a lot easier because she's been through this and seen this stuff before. Their attacks that they do is kind of crazy. Like, I thought it would be something simple, but no, we just like fucking blow so much up. Which is crazy. We end up introducing the dragon here, where Fern isn't able to kill it on one strike, which gets us scared. And I love when FRIEREN's just like, well, the next best option is to run. It just runs away and forces her to be there still, which is, I don't know, that's just funny. And Fern is completely just shocked and refuses to be, detached from her in any sort of way. Now it needs to be with her, which is just funny. We go on our journey. We have to find Stark because we were told to. Basically, he's the apprentice to Eisen, and Eisen wants us involved with him. So it's a very similar thing. We take on somebody like Fern because of what the priest ended up wanting us to do, and now Eisen wants us to take on somebody else that he's been kind of training and getting stronger over time as well, right? And now they all have to fall under FRIEREN because she's somebody who's still very capable and it's going to be alive for a long time, right? And they put their trust and their faith in her, which is really, really cool. We meet Buddy. He seems all strong and everything. I love when he tries to play off his scar and be like, you see that shit? You see the things I've been through? And she's just like, I do not care, dude. It does not look that bad. This is where we get a switch flip, though, and we figure out that he is just kind of a coward and isn't able to participate or do anything in this, and he's afraid of actually fighting this thing, and everything's just been kind of handed over to him over time, unfortunately. I love Fern and her reaction to this. You can just tell their relationship is going to be like really, really good, just the dynamic between them because of how she treats him like the first time and views him, right? It's one of those. She looks down on him now, but she's eventually going to be like amazed and kind of taken back by the things that he's capable of, as we see how strong he ends up getting, or is, later on when she kind of approaches him at the end of the episode. I'm assuming that there's going to be multiple times where she's kind of just amazed by the things that he is capable of doing, and very grateful for having somebody like him around. FRIEREN immediately realizes that's what this thing in the mountain is, and that's what he's been doing. So she kind of just leaves him, and she's like, "All right, come back tomorrow. We'll make a deal. I'm sure that he'll be around." And we send Fern out basically to go take a look at exactly what it is he's been doing, and we kind of leave there. It's interesting. I think it's because we had so much with 4 at once, right? Now you get 1, and it feels like so light in comparison, and it feels like you need more, which is a interesting, I guess, strategy to kind of take, but I don't have any issue with that, and I definitely like this one a lot. I like this sort of like laid back storytelling in a way, and the way that they kind of approached everything was still exactly the things that I like so much from the first part, I guess, the first episode or first four. So I'm just excited to kind of see us expand now into this main story. I'm assuming we take things very slow for the first couple because we still have to introduce people like this and get through some different arcs and stuff, or character arcs, that is, and then adventure into like the actual plot of the story, what we're really going to try and go into in that journey. So this is more so exactly kind of how I was taking it: mini arc to start off, and now we have to build back up and set up a lot before we really get into things. So nothing to complain about a lot here though too. Really enjoyed this. If you liked it, all the like and subscribe do mean a lot to me. Feel free to check out the other videos on the channel, leave any comments with this episode or series. I'll be back for episode 6 next week. You guys have a good one though. Peace.